Hello, Mari here, hopping on again. Um, this is my first official non-intro video, so welcome. Obviously, as many of you who watched the intro, and if you didn't, no worries. My name is Mari. I'm a health coach and nutritionist and a lover of life and all things good. I want to quickly hop on, and something's been on my heart, and I felt compelled to make this the first kind of quote unquote official video. Um, a lot of people, know that I'm really into health and nutrition and love living life, love traveling, obviously when we can. Um, and honestly, I just wanted to spend a few minutes and share a little bit of my own health journey, my own health struggles. And obviously, there's a lot there, but just to give y'all kind of a background of who I am and why I do what I do, and honestly why I'm every day am compelled to just live life to the fullest. I personally, born and raised mostly in Houston, have some Mexico background, raised a little bit there in Mexico as well. And growing up in a typical family household that is Mexican, food was always, good. I have a great mom who cooks. Grew up eating any and everything that was good, delicious, and rich. And unfortunately, along the way, as a child, developed some started having health problems when it came to not only as a female, with some of you can relate with my period, but also, with ovarian cysts that they ended up finding, but also just, not loving my body. I had a poor relationship with food. Honestly, I was addicted to cheese. And on top of that, was bullied as a kid because I was quote unquote fat. I was ugly. I was four-eyed. I was named everything from like Pikachu. I mean, you name it, right? And so unfortunately, that led into adulthood, right? And something that I want to point out here is a lot of people don't realize, but a lot of the habits you have now and the person you are as an adult is really from what you picked up from when you were a child, right? Of course, environmental factors, the way you were raised, XYZ, there's different things that cause us to be who we are and have the mindset that we have and pick up the beliefs that we have, right? Not just about ourselves, but about the world, and many other factors. So long story short, kind of to condense it a little bit, went to college, got a nutrition degree. My dad was dealing with a lot of health issues. And unfortunately, because of his situation, and at the same time, because of the need, I ended up studying a degree in nutrition, even because of my own health struggles, right? Dealing with ovarian cysts for so many years, having poor vitamin D levels every time I got tested, tired, fatigued all the time, just not in a great place and not even feeling like a normal teenager. I ended up going to college, getting a degree in nutrition, wanting to help me and wanting to help myself and help my dad with his health concerns because he was diagnosed with diabetes, congestive heart failure, and a host of other things, right? So fast forward, a couple years ago, I was working full time with campus ministry. Some of you who know me may know that. And also was doing nutrition on the side, right? Not just for my own personal health, but anybody and everybody who wanted the support and knew that I had a nutrition background and was a nutritionist. So with that happening, I, of course, had my own health problems because in working with campus ministry and doing nutrition and supporting or helping my family, especially my dad with his constant health situations that kept coming up, I was really putting myself last. I was unconsciously doing it and sometimes consciously too, right? I had a whole host of problems that unfortunately were undealt with from when I was a child, when I was even younger as a teenager, and really didn't have anybody to open up to. And so I ended up putting everybody first because again, I didn't want anybody to, it's hard to open up. We all know that. And I didn't want to let anybody into my world, right? Because, my problems were my problems and, it's hard to ask for help. So I unfortunately, through getting at a point where, because I was putting everybody else first, I ended up in the hospital, right? I ended up in the hospital, they found out that I had pneumonia. I was very anemic, and unfortunately, I had also contracted tuberculosis, which some of you who may know what TB is, it is highly contagious, highly infectious. And so I essentially was isolated for a couple of months where I had to do nothing, right? And honestly, that was probably one of the first waking moments, both where I woke up on many levels, not just spiritually, but even physically and even emotionally and mentally to my real condition, right? My real state on a level that I had not experienced. And that year, that was back in like 2014, 2015, was probably one of the hardest years that I had lived up to that point. And it was a huge wake up call to where I started to really, I was forced because I was in isolation for some time and taking some heavy dose medication that had me out for a while. I really was forced to go inward, right? Being a believer too, I, of course, had opened to my God, had opened up to God and opened up what was going on in my heart. And eventually, as time went on, I was very clear that I was not okay, right? I had been putting myself to the side for so long, and it was just a hard period, right? And so fast forward, thankfully I got better, and ended up going back to school. Many know I got certified as a health coach, and really getting certified as a health coach, which was what really shifted things for me. So in between that period of when I got better and that period of becoming a health coach, I had tried for many years so many gimmicks and diets, right? That many of you may be familiar with, whether that's keto, paleo, grain free, gluten free, dairy free. I've actually been dairy free for the last 11 years because I actually got checked out and realized I was gluten sensitive. But I had tried all these different things, right? And I had been wanting to take care of my health um, on a level that I had maybe done it before, right? But sadly enough, a lot of the stuff that's out there, and this is something that I really more so want to focus on for the rest of this few minutes I have here, is sadly enough, there's a lot of diets out there. There's a lot of health programs. There's a lot of this and that to help people, whether it's lose weight, whether it's have the body they want and the body they desire and they want to have. But sadly enough, a lot of times, and a lot of things that they offer are only mainly addressing the physical part of a human being, right? And yes, when you do the work, depending on if it's on a quote unquote diet, I don't believe in diets, by the way. It may function. You may have some results or little results, right? But sadly enough, we all know what majority of those people end up reverting back to their old ways, right? They end up going back, gaining the weight after they get off on the quote unquote diet or the plan or whatever. And they're much more in a miserable state than they were before. And I was one of them, right? When that came to becoming vegan, to all these things that I tried. And they worked while I was on it. But as soon as I got off of it, I was just very discouraged because I remember, and many of you can probably relate, where I remember clearly many nights, a couple years ago, just it would be midnight, it would be in the middle of the night, and I would just wake up so anxious, so sad, so depressed, just really, really unsatisfied with my health, with my life, with everything, right? And I was just like so desperate for lasting change, right? And I remember, being a believer, I prayed this, and then I also was just like, what do I need to do? Like, what am I doing wrong? And eventually, shortly after a couple of those nights for a period of time, I ended up getting my prayers answered, right? Ended up stumbling across a health coaching program that I actually, coincidentally enough, was a friend of mine had run into as well. Different program, but same certification. And I just felt in my heart like I was looking for answers. I was looking for answers, looking for the missing piece. And when I came across this program and started it, I realized this is exactly what I've been looking for my whole life, essentially. I loved every part of getting certified as a health coach because I went through my own healing journey, getting support through another fellow health coach and more trained health coach, and helping me resolve a lot of my inward concerns in relation to why I wasn't having lasting change, even physically, right? And of course, that was life changing, which now you fast forward a couple of years later, why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I love what I do, because and really what makes me different in many of many programs that are out there and many things that you may find online and things of that nature is I help people and support them and guide them on their journey to healing and to abundant, thriving health, but from the inside out, right? I've seen it again and again. One, I saw it in my own health and in my own life, and I realized, okay, it's possible, right? Even me, out of all people, if it supported me and it helped me and it changed my life, there's so many more out there that need this, right? And so, of course, I got the training, and since 2019, have been coaching clients, and it has been one of the greatest blessings, to say the least, that I have had the privilege of doing, in helping others really have sustainable, long-lasting health from the inside out, meaning having emotional stability, mental stability, even in their spiritual walk and journey. Taking their health and their spiritual walk to another level has been really amazing to witness, right? And so, anyways, I wanted to share that because a lot of people don't know, obviously, why it is I even got to doing what I do. People know, like, oh, she likes to eat healthy and this and that, but it hasn't always been that way. Okay. But yeah, just wanted to share a little bit of my story. And then the coming days and coming weeks, you'll be seeing more of what I do as far as recipes, nutrition, things that have worked for me, that work for my clients. And more than anything, I want you to know that, if you're someone who's even in the middle of it and going through it, just kind of praying for answers or looking for the solution, right? That's going to really improve your health and your life for the long term. Health coaching may be an option, right? It's may not be for everybody, but if it's something that you're contemplating or considering, definitely leave me a comment. Let me know if you're interested, or more than anything, if you're like, I don't even know what I need, but I know I need help. That's what we're here for, right? So anyways, don't want to take up too much of y'all time. Hope y'all have a beautiful day. Just wanted to share that first before we hit the ground running. And yeah, you'll look forward to hearing me soon. Bye. Bienvenidos, Maribel aquí. Quería tomar unos minutos, como muchos conocen, soy nutróloga, soy coach de la salud. Y más que nada quería tomar unos minutos para compartir un poquito de mi historia, ¿verdad? Muchos saben que me gusta mucho la salud, me gusta mucho cuidarme, me gusta mucho la nutrición, el amor propio, X, ¿verdad? Pero muchos no saben por qué hago lo que hago. Incluso mucha gente piensa que ya tengo años haciendo lo que hago, pero no saben mi historia, ¿verdad? Y antes que empezar a compartir recetas y de nutrición y X, quería compartirles algo que estaba en mi corazón y a lo mejor ustedes pueden relacionarse, ¿verdad? Yo personalmente fui creada por la mayor parte aquí en Texas. Mis papás son de México, bendito México, y tengo obvio muchas memorias de cuando me crearon en México y pues claro, en una casa mexicana comes rico, comes de todo, pero también a la misma vez yo desde chiquilla tenía muchos problemas con la comida en relación que me atacaba. Y también yo tenía problemas físicos de la salud, ¿verdad? Problemas con mi quistes, que gracias a Dios ya estoy bien. Pero por muchos años sufrí por problemas de la salud, problemas también, mucha gente también les ha pasado por bullying, por ser rechazados por su apariencia, su peso X, ¿verdad? Y tristemente eso me afectó, ¿verdad? Y mucha gente no se da cuenta, pero mucho de lo que somos ahora como adultos es parte de lo que nosotros, cómo nos crearon, ¿verdad? Cómo fueron nuestros papás, si tuvimos los dos papás en casa, la cultura, el ambiente, todo eso afecta y nos hacen las personas que somos hoy, ¿verdad? Con nuestras creencias, con nuestros patrones y todo. Y pues bueno, yo, como les digo, tuve problemas de chiquilla, no nomás en relación con la comida y estaba, sí estaba rellenita y todo, pero también por el base de la salud, ¿verdad? Con mis ovarios, con mi periodo X. Y eso me motivó que cuando empecé a estudiar en la universidad, se me hizo lógico estudiar la nutrición, me gustó. Y también en aquel tiempo mi papá, muchos a lo mejor sí saben aquí, a lo mejor no, él empezó a padecer en aquel tiempo de problemas de salud, con diabetes, con problemas del corazón, con los riñones que le fallaban, tuvo que tomar diálisis y ciertas cosas que tristemente son muy común ahora en día. Y eso me motivó más para ayudarlo a él y también ayudarme a mí. Y gracias a Dios con el tiempo me empecé a sentir un poquito mejor, pero todavía eh, no tan bien, ¿verdad? Y ya un poquito más adelante, como en el 2014, 2015, eh, en base de que muchos, a lo mejor sí saben también que yo estaba ayudando, trabajando por el ministerio, y arriba de trabajar en las universidades con estudiantes, también estaba yo trabajando cuando podía como nutróloga, ¿verdad? No nomás en mi vida personal y con mi papá, pero también em, estaba trabajando con clientes o personas que sabían que era nutróloga y querían el apoyo X, ¿verdad? Decían, Mari, eres nutricionista, ponme en una dieta X, ¿verdad? Y algo que tristemente pasó durante ese tiempo fue de que yo me dejé, ¿verdad? Puse a todo el mundo primero y yo era la última. Y que al extremo que tristemente yo llegué al hospital. En el 2014 me encontraron que tenía neumonía, era anémica y tristemente también me encontraron que tenía tuberculosis, ¿verdad? Que es muy puede ser muy dañino, malo y contagioso, ¿verdad? Y por esa razón, por muchos meses me tuve que aislar, tuve que tomar un medicamento súper pesado y muy malo para uno, que fue cuando como uno de los primeros pasos que empecé yo como que a despertar, ¿verdad? A despertar por relación de mi estado actual, ¿verdad? De mi salud, de cómo estaba viviendo, de cómo no me amaba lo suficiente para cuidarme, tantas cosas, ¿verdad? Y también cuando pasé por ese tiempo, después de que ya me había recuperado, empecé a estudiar yo, más bien yo tenía preguntas en mí, dije, pues, ¿qué está pasando, verdad? Y empecé a cuidarme un poquito un poco más en base de la nutrición, la salud, y como, claro, a lo mejor muchos de ustedes, yo calé tantas dietas, que el keto, que el perio, que esto, que el bla, 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 y a lo mejor, y sí, funcionan por una parte por un tiempo mientras estás todavía durante esa dieta, ¿verdad? Que yo honestamente no creo en en cualquier dietas, ¿verdad? Yo creo en la alimentación y la alimentación adecuada, sea lo que estés comiendo. Bueno, pero también tristemente, mientras estás en las dietas o programas o X, te va bien, ¿verdad? Pero tristemente, ¿qué es lo que vemos con mucha gente? Después de que terminan eso, regresan a sus malos hábitos, el peso aumenta otra vez y hasta a veces quedan peor que cuando comenzaron ese programa o esa dieta. Y yo entre mí dije, pues, ¿qué está pasando, verdad? Yo sé que hay más aquí. Y eso me motivó mucho y me acuerdo que en ese tiempo, y a lo mejor ustedes se pueden relacionar también, que me acuerdo que muchas noches en la madrugada, a las 12 de la noche, no podía dormir o me despertaba con una ansiedad, con tanto, estaba tan, ¿cómo se dice? Insatisfecha con mi vida, mi salud, no estaba contenta para nada, de cómo me miraba, aunque sí había mejorado y mucha gente me decía, Mari, que no te ves bonita o X, pero yo entre mí no lo veía, ¿verdad? Y me acuerdo que hasta oraba, dice, Dios, ¿cuál es la respuesta? ¿Qué es lo que necesito? X. Y eso con tiempo me motivó y me regresé a la maestría y también regresé para serme certificada como una coach, ¿verdad? Que muchas gentes dicen que pues que es una coach, ¿verdad? Y eso fue honestamente lo que me cambió la vida. Yo ya voy para 4 años que tuve la bendición y el privilegio de comenzar un programa que honestamente era la respuesta de tantas oraciones, de tantos problemas que tenía y no sabía cómo arreglarlas en base de mí, que me cambió la vida en el sentido de que yo empecé amarme, ¿verdad? Empecé a sanarme, tener buena salud, pero comenzando adentro, ¿verdad? Emocionalmente, mentalmente, espiritualmente, tuve que pasar por un periodo de sanación, de desahogarme, y tristemente todo eso era lo que me estaba deteniendo en yo vivir una vida plena, una vida donde me amaba, donde amaba mi cuerpo, con ganas, me quería nutrirme todos los días con comida saludable, quería vivir la vida al 100, ¿verdad? Todos los días. Y me cambió la vida y honestamente dije yo, ok, esto me pasó a mí. Yo pensé que era un caso imposible y dije yo, hay mucha gente que necesita esto, ¿verdad? Yo sé indudablemente es la respuesta de tantas oraciones, de tantas noches de desveladas, de sentirse uno insatisfecho, ah, no saludable, triste, deprimido, X. Yo estaba allí en un punto. Y por eso por eso es lo que hago, por esa misma razón, porque desde entonces, desde el 2019 para acá, he tenido la bendita bendición de ayudar a otras personas con su salud, y ayudarlos a encontrar esa respuestas de sus oraciones, de sus trabajos, en base de tratando tantas dietas y cansado de las dietas, que honestamente es bonito ver que la transformación y esta salud puede ser posible, pero por mucho tiempo, no nomás por un tiempo que dures en un programa, pero puede cambiarte la vida, ¿verdad? Y te cambia la vida, pero comienza todo por dentro, ¿verdad? Y yo ayudo a las personas a encontrar salud físico, pero también comenzando por dentro, salud mental, salud espiritual y salud emocional. Bueno, nomás les quería compartir un poquito de mi historia, quién soy, y antes que empezar a compartir nutrición y recetas y motivación y aquí es que van a ver eso, pero compartirles un poquito de mi corazón y claro, si eres alguien que dices, Mari, necesito apoyo, ya estoy hasta acá, como dicen, en base de mi salud y no sé qué hacer, mándeme un mensaje, déjenme un comentario aquí, ¿verdad, Mari? ¿Qué hago? ¿Verdad? Estoy aquí siempre para apoyarlos y claro, si yo no los puedo apoyar, los puedo ah, signalar o mandar a unos conocidos que yo sé o con otras personas con quien yo trabajo también, que también son súper a su trabajo y también son una bendición, ¿verdad? Bueno, aquí les dejo, que tengan un lindo día y aquí nos veremos pronto. Chao.